Welcome to Campfire TV. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon from wherever you are tuned in, watching in Uganda, in Dubai, in America, in Canada, in Europe, in the UK, wherever you are tuned in, watching Campfire TV. We want to welcome you, and we hope that you are doing great wherever you are. Once again, this is Uganda at Crossroads, and we are more than excited ever before because a lot is happening back in Uganda. This week has been a week full of so much drama, so many activities going on, and we're going to try and hone in on each and every area to look at how the elections are going in our country. Remember, in the month of January 2021, Uganda will be deciding on who its next president is going to be. We've had a president who's been in power for the last 35 years, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and he is still standing again in this election. But there is hope that this might be the time for change. That is the hope that everyone would like to see, a peaceful transition of power. We have over 9 contenders or more in this election, but the spotlight is more on the People Power candidate or the National Unity Platform candidate, Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi. And today we are going to be talking more about how the election is going, how his camp is doing, and what is happening, what needs to be done by Ugandans in diaspora, to enable change back home in Uganda, or to stand with it back home to bring about a peaceful transition of power. And today with me in the studios is David Chirabira, who is the religious spiritual, or is part of the religious spiritual oversight team. It's a very interesting component of the People Power movement, or People Power, platform that is going on. They have a component, a spiritual component of prayer, believing that God, has a role to play in the peaceful transition of power. What a great way, to think, and to put God at first, in this whole process. And I also have Richard Muyombia, who is always with us here, on the platform, talking about People Power, and a very strong man who is so determined and believing that we shall have a peaceful transition of power in Uganda. I want to welcome you, gentlemen, and I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that our viewers will have a very wonderful discussion with us and get to learn more, in detail. David, let me give you an opportunity to greet our people and tell us in detail what exactly are you, spearheading in the diaspora for People Power movement, or for NUP, for NUP.
Yeah, I just want to greet the viewers and the listeners, and I just want to thank you, Campfire TV, for hosting us. Really, it's a pleasure, and my name is David Chirabira, and I'm working under a big team led by our diaspora coordinator, Mr. Hamana Nebiona. And here in the Greater Boston People Power Chapter, or NUP, we are led by Madame Dorothy Stewart. So I'm working on that team, on the leadership team, under spiritual oversight. And we believe, we in NUP and People Power, we believe that God comes first. And I'm a believer, I'm also a believer, and when you go to the Bible, Matthew 6:33 says that seek first God's kingdom. All these other things that we want, democracy, freedom, liberty, because God initiated leadership. So we believe that we have to begin with God, because God, all leadership comes from God, no matter what kind of leadership. So God is the ultimate leader. He is absolute. How I wish dictators knew about that. So God is the sovereign ruler and the sovereign leader in charge. He is ultimate. He is absolute. So I stand on that team that leads the spiritual oversight, and seeing that we are balanced. We are a balanced movement. We are a balanced political party. So, and I don't work alone. I also work on that team with Sheikh Dumba, representing our Muslim fraternity. So thank you so much for hosting us.
Well, it's going to be interesting, I know, because the church and the faith in general, or the religious bodies, have a very important role, a very integral role to play in peaceful transition of power. Someone once said this week that when the church decides to keep silent about politics, they are being very political themselves. When the church decides to keep silent about political change, they are being very political. Sometimes we think that as a church, you have to just back off and let the course be taken. But I'm really excited, and I hope we're going to have a wonderful discussion concerning that. Mr. Richard Muyombia. Greet our viewers and,
Good afternoon, viewers. We are happy that we have a political discussion here in America. Here it's almost 2 o'clock. And this week I was so happy to see our leader, the NOP, Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, canvassing for votes all over northern Uganda. And one of the most interesting part that I was interested in was Karamoja. Karamoja, you know.
Why were you interested so much in Karamoja? We saw so much. We saw him with the elders, we saw him exciting, but just give me your views.
Karamoja is one of the strategic points that Uganda is going to enjoy in a lot. I think everyone after its reconstruction and redevelopment is going to get a plot in Karamoja because it's going to be like a little Israel in Karamoja. The same desert that you see in Karamoja, the drought you see in Karamoja, the overgrazing that you see in Karamoja, we planned, or people power planned, that by diverting the waters of the River Nile, which is a key strategic point in international political scene, we shall be able to do irrigation in Karamoja and make it a fertile land so that every float that you know of, not only for consumption in Uganda or Africa or East Africa, that is going to be exported like Israel. That area is gold, not only the gold that it has, and the minerals and the good stones that it has in the ground, but it's a very good. If you put it in zero grazing, you build its democracy, you build its roads, you build its infrastructure, it's going to be a good place.
Let's start with the reception Bobby Wine, Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi received. Maybe I will start with you, Robert. Richard, was it shocking to you?
No.
Let's talk about this whole week in the northern region.
Yeah, no. Let me see about Karamoja. I was so pleased to see him going to the elders of that area, because the people of Karamoja is where Museveni steals the election. You know that? He steals election in so many places. But in Karamoja, he just goes and says, how many numbers do we need in Karamoja? We need 1 million votes that are not there. They just bring sheets and fill in, and the returning officers bring that you have so much so in this area. When the people came out to greet their leader, I was so surprised that even the people that you think are primitive, that had been locked off the rest of the area, the country, that came out in good numbers to welcome even the elders. And the army and the police were harassing the citizens that were coming to see their hero. That was a very good...
That will bring us to a discussion we shall have later on about how free and fair this election could be. But before I leave that point, when you saw what you saw, what do you think will stop Mr. Museveni? Because you said he's always rigging in Karamoja. What this time around do you think can stop him from rigging in Karamoja, if at all he does?
Actually, let me tell you the truth, just on camera and record. I want him to rig the election. I want him. Because for me, I fight in totally different way. The moment he steals an election, that means he's going to go empty-handed and his group out of the country. And that's where he's working. It's a trap. He's so stupid that at this time he's going to do what he has been doing. The whole of Uganda is against him, and the whole of the international community is against him. He would have left power peacefully and go and settle in his home area. And
become the elder.
Yes, and become an elder.
Anyway, we're going to have that discussion because it's going to be the hallmark of what we're going to talk about. But let me first come back to you, David Chirabira. You introduce and represent a very holistically new dimension that we hadn't spoken about, at least for the time I've been here. Yeah. The religious spiritual oversight. Let us go in detail. What exactly do you do, on this other part that is not seen? What are you doing behind, Just take us briefly into the work that the team that is on the religious spiritual oversight is doing to make sure that there is peaceful transitional power in Uganda, or to enable NUP, take charge of our country.
Thank you so much. First and foremost, the work that we do, or what we believe that, as my elder brother has been saying, the church has been taking a back seat and the religious leaders. We believe the religious leaders have been compromised so much. And it's really a pity when you see, because the Bible says that we are the light. I'm a Christian, and the Bible says we are the light of the world. So if the light cannot give light anymore, or if the light, or in another way it says we are the salt of the earth. And if the salt loses its savor or its flavor, it's not good anymore, but it's just good for men to be trampling on it. So I believe that as religious leaders or as people who profess the name of God, number one, God is a God of justice. So if here is Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi, he has stood up and he is fighting against injustice. And if we who say that we serve a God in all religions, whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a Christian, Catholic, Protestant, nowhere do we find injustice being condoned in the holy books that we all believe in. So if we take a back seat and we don't say anything when there is blatant and visible, significant abuse of human rights, injustice, corruption in our country, that is seen, and we have reports everywhere, and we are here saying that we are religious leaders, we are representing God, but when it comes to the fight to fight against corruption, to fight against injustice, to fight against impunity, and we are quiet, then that shows a very, very bad sign to where we are going. So number one, what we do, we are here to motivate. I'm standing and I'm representing the Christian fraternity, and we are here to motivate from the Word of God, to motivate even pastors. I know many of them are afraid because they think when they see you, you're a pastor, when they see you on camera, this is going to put you into bad light with the authorities that be. But then we are being hypocrites because the Bible, or God says that, Jesus said that fear God who can kill the body, the soul, and the spirit together. And all the Old Testament prophets and all the prophets, and even Prophet Muhammad and all the prophets, they stood against injustice. They raised their voice on behalf of the oppressed people. So we believe God has always been on the side of the oppressed people, not on the side of the oppressor. You see, when he sent Moses to go tell Pharaoh to let his people go, it is God himself. So God is very involved in how we are governed. God is involved in good governance, as a matter of fact. So many people have been having this narrative that the church should stay out of politics. But how does the church stay out of politics? Yet politics determines how much a matchbox is going to be, how much sugar is going to be, how much fuel. The politics determines even if churches are going to be opened or closed. So how do you, it's like telling people that stay out of breathing, because good governance touches even the heart of God. That's why he sent a full prophet, Moses. When you look in the scriptures and the holy books, in the Quran and in the Bible, they all believe in prophet Moses, or in the Quran they call him Musa, prophet Musa. So he sent him to go tell Pharaoh in Egypt, let my people go. So this is the voice that we believe that we as the religious fraternity or the religious leaders, we also have to be on the forefront. We don't have to leave it to the politicians, as they like to call them. We don't have to leave it to, as they want to say, worldly people. We have to be on the forefront. And you see prophets, the Isaiahs, the Jeremiahs, many throughout the Old Testament. They spoke against the Nebuchadnezzars. They spoke against many kings. And it was even Prophet Samuel who anointed Saul, King Saul, to become king over Israel. And then God denounced Saul. And Samuel was here praying for the guy that God had rejected. And God tells him, why? How long will you mourn for Saul, yet have rejected him to be king over Israel? Go and anoint David. So we believe we are in a time, we have come to, as this program says, that Uganda at Crossroads.
We have a David in the house.
We have a David. We have a new breed, a new leader that God is appointing.
But Saul has refused to go.
Yeah, but
I mean, it brings a very interesting discussion, and I will ask you both on that. I mean, I'm a Bible scholar myself.
Yep.
There are some very big mega church pastors in Kampala who are still convinced that it is God's plan for Mr. Museveni to take Uganda forward. And this is the narrative and rhetoric they are, passing on to their believers and their churches. And majority have really been, they have become very political and very defensive of why they're standing for Mr. Museveni. I want to ask you as a question. I know the Bible just says God made Saul a king, but then regretted why he ever made Saul king, and still kept him in power until David was ready to become king. Do you feel, as religious scholars yourself, as Bible scholars, because you're also a servant of God, Richard, can it be God's plan for a man to rule a country for 40 years?
Yes or no?
Can it be God's plan?
Yes or no?
Well, okay,
you
yes.
see, for me, let me tell you, if you see the way Museveni came to power, there were always circumstances that were invisible. For me, I've been watching Museveni ever since I was a young boy, for so many years. I'm going to give you an example. There was a time there was an election where this man of DP, you see, when DP came out to contest for election through a no-party state, because Museveni, the way he was transforming Uganda, he came very, very, very clever. He had to ban the party politics for a certain number of time, then bring in the NRM type of system so that people could pick it up. But the time that Semogere came to contest for the presidency, there's something that happened. We were so sure that Museveni was going to lose power. Do you know what happened? Then all of a sudden, the determining factor were Toro and Ankole. And in Toro, something happened in the middle of an election. The king of Toro dies. You see, I've been watching Museveni. That's why I'm so sure that Museveni is going to lose this time. Because the hand of God is no longer on him. Because in the Toro death of the king, where this young man, Oyonyiba Kabamba Igu, comes in, Museveni stops in the middle of an election, a very tough election, and goes to be the chief mourner of Toro, and takes Toro. I think if I can say, Semogere might have got not even 200 votes in Toro. Because there were always circumstances of favoring of God that was on Museveni when he's coming to power. Now, if you see what is happening on Honorable Chagwany now, there's things that are happening, if you can look very well, that are showing that God's hand is on him. And if you see Museveni's time, God is no longer with him.
Give us two things that show God's hand is on Chagulany.
We can see. You look at the circumstances that are happening.
Just give us two.
Look at the Arua scenario. That this man was supposed to die.
Yeah, the protection.
Yeah, something happened.
Two?
Every time Museveni does something, it favors who? Now look at the election that is happening now. Museveni says and comes and says, I'm not going to conduct an open space rallies. Now Chagwany is just moving around. He's not doing those big open rallies like they are supposed to be, but people are following him, and Museveni is coming in convoy. You see this week, he's going to stop this radio and television, which they call certificate election. He's going to go for air rallies, Museveni himself. So everything, if you see very well, there have never been a man like Chagwany in Uganda who just came in politics yesterday, and the whole world is on him.
Thank you so much. I'm going to come back to this
But
question.
there's something I wanted to say about this the religion that we are talking about. Let's involve it a little bit. Museveni's ideology, I know Museveni's ideology, as he was bringing in this socialism and communism in Uganda, he came in hiding that the only thing that they are fighting for themselves is religion and then tribalism. And Museveni is the most person who uses these things as a tool to maneuver. Look at the born-again Christian and the people who go to State House to get money. These Serwadas, these Kayanjas, they give, all these, the so-called men of God. that are great in Uganda that were eating in trash a few years ago. Now they call themselves the greatest men of God that can even tell things that are not there. Look at what happened about tribalism. Museveni has done more tribalism, destroying of tribes and bringing in tribes from other countries and promoting others, and others, he kicks them out of society. Look at the police. Look at all the army. Look at all the prison. It's the most tribalistic. We all have to fight and work out how we are going to stabilize and rebuild a country that includes everyone in the society. Be the army, be the police, be the prison, be everything, employment. We have the best. People power have the best. Chagwany has the best to do this, not Museveni.
I mean, it's interesting. It's a very interesting debate when you bring God into any scenario. And I'll just come back to you before we leave that same question. What is your view, and as a person who is working towards harmonizing the Church of God especially, to have one unified vote or voice concerning an election or transition of power, how are you engaging religious leaders or who still feel that we don't need change in Uganda? I mean, those are the majority because they are still compromised. I will tell you without any fear. You know, right from the Archbishop of Uganda, there's a way it is unified that he cannot stand independent and say we need change. You know, there's out of fear. What will Namirembe say? You know, what will Rubaga say? What will this one say? How are you engaging leaders, religious leaders or religious bodies to have a unified vote, a unified voice, sorry, concerning the need for change, with all the evidence that you have laid out that shows that the hand of God maybe is not on Mr. Museveni anymore? How are you doing that?
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. To begin with, NUP is a young party, maybe 3 or 4 months. So we're just laying foundations. But what we have started with is that we have come up in camera. Some of us have come in front of the cameras to stand with the oppressed majority of Ugandans. That itself is a voice, and it speaks volumes. So the other initiatives that we are doing, I will not disclose them prematurely, but we have started engaging, me, myself, we have started engaging. There is many spiritual leaders, sorry. There is fathers and reverends who have stood up. You saw another video that went so viral. There is a man of God, a reverend, that stood from the area of Masakachotela.
I'm sure he's soon going to be kicked out of that area.
And they have started intimidating him. Yeah. But we have stood with him and we have encouraged him. We have started encouraging him, and we are mobilizing many others to back them up and to give them moral support, to show them that they are on the right cause. God has always been on the side of the oppressed and not the oppressors. So we are trying to sensitize them, we are trying to motivate them, and we are coordinating a team, a whole big team of them, religious leaders, because we believe they have the influence and they have a captive audience. And the people believe in them when they say something. So we are trying to let them know that, hey, you are leaders and you are spiritual leaders per se. So you are going to be living double standards if you are going to be cowards and more timid than the people you are leading. The people you are leading are more braver than you who is leading them. Then you don't deserve to stand on the pulpit, or you don't stand to stand as the clergy to speak to these people. If these people are not fearing death, they are going on the streets, as you have been seeing in Karamoja, in the northern part of Uganda, in many districts. People have braved the brutality, the police brutality, and they are standing to demand for change. They are demanding for their freedom. So it can be a great disgrace if Moses is hiding and the children of Israel are on the forefront demanding, Pharaoh, we want to go. It's the other way around, but that's how dictators do. They change things the other upside down. So we are beginning by telling these religious leaders that, see here, if you really believe that you are religious leaders and you are not just imposters, stand up, speak against this. You don't have to belong to NUP for you to see that there is corruption in Uganda. You don't have to love Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi or to believe in him for you to see that there is tribalism, as my brother has been saying. That is seen even, you don't have to belong to FDC, DP, or any other, you don't even have to be a politician. You just have to be a sober Ugandan to know that there is abuse of human rights. You see our mamas, the young people who are being illegally arrested just because he or she is putting on this red beret, this color. We have even started, the police or the security organs have been so much used that they have made themselves to be fools, because if you say that in their very law, it says that anything that resembles their uniform. But we all know that a uniform is not a uniform until there is an insignia or a badge. It's what makes it a uniform. So we challenge them of late, we challenge them that if you believe these berets, these red berets are yours, put them on. Put them on, we shall know. Put on the people power berets, you understand? So there is injustice. You saw in the nominations, in the nominations that have just ended. On the nomination day, on the nomination grounds, Honorable Kyagulanyi being beaten and battered, and our Secretary General and our spokesperson Joel Senyonyi and many others on the team went in torn suits and torn clothes, bleeding and with wounds on the election day. So if as a religious leader who is advocating for, who is standing on the side of God, you are quiet to all those, you are quiet when the people you say that you are pastoring, because if we are looking after, if we are religious leaders, we are shepherds of God's people. It doesn't matter if you are a mufti, an imam, a sheikh, a pastor, a reverend, we are leading people. We are not users, we are leaders. And it's our mandate to see that these people, as David says that in Psalms 23, that the Lord is my shepherd, he guides me, he leads me, he takes me to still. There is that protection element when you are leading. So if the people we say that we are standing before on Sunday, on Friday, and speaking to, if they are being oppressed, they are being illegally detained and tortured in police custodies, some are killed. We have a number of our people in the NUP who have been killed. Mothers and many other people have been arrested, and many despicable things have been done unto them. And if we, the church or the mosques or the religious fraternity, are quiet, then it means we are dining on the devil's
There's something I wanted to
table.
add.
So we have started with sensitizing religious leaders in different capacities. We are sensitizing them. Off camera, we are sensitizing and reaching out to them. And also praying. We are also organizing prayer. We are going to be intensifying with prayer campaigns as the election ripens. We are intensifying our prayer movements here in the United States. We have prayer campaigns going on, prayer altars, praying for a peaceful transition.
Where are these prayer altars? If someone wants to join in prayer and say, I may not have money, but I will offer myself. I will pray and fast for a change in Uganda. Where can someone find these altars if they want to join you in prayer? Or you have online? Can they pray online or?
Yeah, we have them, and I'll give you my number. Anyone, we will give out our numbers. Anyone who wants more information, will feel free to reach out to us, and we will direct them depending on their different chapters. Because I won't direct you to something that's happening in California, yet you are here in the greater Boston. So I'll give out my number for anyone else who wants more information about that regard.
But prayer is very important. And before you come in, I just wanted to re-echo an issue that the reason why the church or the religious bodies in Uganda and maybe those in diaspora are still divided is because the majority are still being bankrolled. Their activities are being bankrolled by the NRM government. And so most of these people, when they think about the fact that if I say this and tomorrow we lose this, it's going to affect the voice of the church. But also for most of them, it is the fear of how will it be perceived tomorrow, let's say by Namirembe, if an archbishop stands up and says we need change. I mean, we saw like what people like Lumumba did, and how it ended up. For most of those who are really strong and courageous to stand up and say there has to be change, like that man of God we saw, was it in Masaka,
Yeah.
He gave a whole sermon of like 20 minutes, and he was telling people how we need to have change. It doesn't matter how bad it looks like, but there has to be change at all costs. So my worry is that most of the religious leaders who would have a voice and a big say at this point, their lips are tight. They can't say anything because they know at the end of the day the implications. If we say this, either this goes or we ourselves will lose our status, in the body of Christ. Before I come to you, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, something else very small that I wanted to add on is that the challenge that we are having is that many people who are so-called, some just started, we have people who just started to become religious leaders. But if you have God at the center of your life, at the center of your heart, and if you are really a servant of God, and you are not just a user, using people, but you are a leader, a true leader, then you have to care. You have to love the people that you are leading. And if you love people, love speaks the truth. If you love someone so much that you can't tell them the truth, then you are a liar. You don't love that person. So what's happening here is that we are not telling religious leaders to be partisan, to engage in partisan politics. But what we are telling them is that speak against the social ills, the ills of the day. Encourage people to vote however they want to vote. But the injustices that are in our communities, in our societies, let your voice be heard. Speak. Don't tell people to support Kyagulanyi. People know, or to support Museveni, or to support whosoever. Yet we have seen some religious leaders really campaigning and telling people that. But what we are telling them, to begin with, for starters, speak against these social ills. If your people... Now, if your congregants are going to be arrested or beaten, and you are here in the pulpit or in the mosque waiting for them to come to fellowship or to come for prayers, and you are not going to say anything, I see we are going to have, there is a time when if religious leaders do not wake up this time and assume their rightful role, because if you look even here in the United States, religious leaders were very, 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 very influential in fighting against slave trade, fighting against injustices and many other extremes and excesses. So we are telling religious leaders that if you don't stand up, what is happening is that they are going to lose, and many of them have lost their moral authority. A time is going to come and the people are going to, the Ugandans, the oppressed majority, they are going to ask them in the new Uganda, where were you when we were being beaten? Where were you when the taxes were being hyped on us? And now here you are asking money from us to bring to the offering, to bring to the basket. Where were you when our businesses were running bankrupt, when the economy was failing, when the country was going into this mess? Where were you? So they are going to lose their moral authority. So we are telling them that for you to retain your jobs and your ministry and your service in the community, this is the time to be relevant.
To be heard.
To be heard.
One of the greatest dictators in the 90s, 80s was Ceausescu of Romania. Ceausescu of Romania, they say, even the fathers of communism, the Russians, feared him that he's the king of communism. Ceausescu did extraordinary things in communism that no other country have ever done. That even slaughtering a pig, a swine, you had to get permission from the ROCs, what they call neighborhood leaders. That's how far Ceausescu, if you slaughter this pig without consent of the leaders of the area, you could be punished very, 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 very well. Do you know how he fell? There was a foreigner that came from Hungary, that came in Romania as a bishop. And he went in a small town called Trimasenko. The name seems like that. And when this man was used to these ways of running of the government, killing people or oppressing people, all other people feared this Ceausescu and his wife. This man starts speaking. A man in a small village. And the authorities noticed that the people that had been oppressed were coming to his church. And they told you have to stop this radical, like that man of Massacre, you have to stop these radical sermons. He said, no, it's my job as a man of God to speak. Then they told him, we are going to evict you from here and take you to another place. He said, no, I'm not leaving this here because God sent me here. You know what happened? This man, the flocks that were coming to his church, when they saw the army and the secret police had come in, the next morning they were 200. The next morning they were 1,000. The army and the police opened fire and killed 60. Then the word of mouth, it was the word of mouth that went in from Trymasenko. And when it reached the capital, they said that this man, the Romanian dictator, had killed 60,000, 100,000. And the people rose to the street. 2 weeks later, this very powerful man not only lost the leadership of the country, but faced a firing squad with his wife. So people of God that do not speak out because they are being paid when a country is in ruin, there are no jobs. Let's be frank. Let's talk about jobs. Who doesn't want jobs in Uganda? Museveni's way of bringing jobs in Uganda openly is by selling our country to foreigners, to Chinese, and praises himself to Indians, where he takes our ancestral land, grabs it from us, sells and gives them free of charge to foreigners. Then they build factories. Then tomorrow morning we come and we work for $100 a month, and he's very happy because that is his belief in communism. Chagwan is saying, no, I have the best option for creating jobs, good paying jobs, where we can get the wealth, we as people of the country. How? I am going to bring my friends, the Americans. We are going to use the same system that was used with the American and China of investment for sub-manufacturing and manufacturing for export to America, where the means of production, employment, and factories after 10 years, they are 100% Ugandans. And that's what shall create jobs of the least amount of money paid in a country to be at least $250. Who doesn't want this in Uganda? It's just the ways people perceive and don't know. Because when you are so used to much poverty and backwardness in the country, you tend to think that that's the way of life. When you go to hospitals and someone to get an operation in a hospital in Uganda, 90% you don't come out alive. No medicine, all the equipment, doctors are poorly trained. Everything is wrong. At the end of the day, you pay with your own lives. So I think all these things, if these people know exactly that this is what is going to happen in a country, there's going to be transformation in a new country, building of roads. There's going to be building of roads from the end of the country because this is going to create employment. Look at our natural resources. Our natural resources are given out to foreigners, where the NRM people eat commission. Oh, someone knows that there's a mineral here in this area. He goes and looks for, they call them investor. I got my investor. He takes him to the minister and tells, if I take him to the minister and they give you this tender in your own area. And the minister says, how much are they giving us back? They're giving us $5 million. Then the minister signs all the mineral resources, not knowing how much money, billions of dollars are in that mineral. It's given it to an investor because someone has eaten a kickback and is going to enjoy. In Chagwanyi's people-centered government, he says, no, the minerals, the people in the area must be able to share the profits. Not only share profit to be sold to foreigners, no, to manufacture. For example, if there is a mineral in Kasese, we are not going to load the mineral in Kasese on the train to be brought to America or to China for selling the minerals at a cheap price. No, factories are going to come there and they are going to sub-manufacture either whatever is supposed to be manufactured in that for export.
I mean, there is so much good that we want to see.
Yeah.
My hope is if those can happen, once, Chagwan comes into power. And this brings me to an issue because I want us to first look at the process to getting where you were talking about, because that is now in Canaan. We are still in Goshen, in Egypt. We are moving. Let me ask you a question I always ask here. And this is concerning protecting this election. All signs, all indications show that we will definitely and most likely not have a free and fair election. I mean, this should not be news. It shouldn't be even a shock to the people watching. It is just clear. There are indications that this is not going to be a free and fair election. We have already begun to see Mr. Robert Kyagulanyi yesterday saying he was blocked from accessing a radio station where he had paid money to go in Moroto, and yet he had paid money to be on that show. I mean, there must be so many other evils going on. We haven't just put a spotlight on all the other candidates. But with this all in mind, and I will start with you, David, what can Ugandans do to safeguard this election?
Yeah, to begin with, Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi has spent 3 years sensitizing Ugandans, and we are continuing as the National Unity Platform leadership to join our voice on his, to assure and to tell Ugandans this is a revolutionary election. This has never happened. You see the support, you see the welcome, everything just shows that we are ripe for change, and this is the time. So if you harvest, for those of you who have ever harvested or who are farmers, if you harvest, you don't leave your harvest there to get rotten. You have to make sure that you keep your basket and you take your harvest back home. So that's what we have been. The spirit of fear, Ugandans, one of the fundamental changes that the NRM government or Museveni and the Musevenism as it is, one of the fundamental changes that they brought into our country is that they instilled fear in the lives of Ugandans by militarization. That's why you see whenever we come to these seasons, to these episodes of elections, you see a lot of militarization. For example, when they raided the NUP offices in Kamocha, the secretariat a few months or weeks back, you saw they said they were looking for berets and for military gadgets and whatsoever, uniform and that. And police itself, what message are they sending? Police itself was enough because NUP supporters, we are not violent as they like to term us. Andrew Mwenda, their spokesperson or representative, witnessed that when he came to our secretariat, and he left with a beret and with a card to vie for some position or that without any violence being meted upon him. Yet he has insulted Honorable Robert Kyagulanyi in the past. So what am I coming to is that the spirit of fear, we have started with bombarding fear from Ugandans, and you are little by little you are seeing that happening. You have seen in Moroto in the northern Uganda where they used to say that people power, they are just hooligans in Kampala in the central, they don't have masses, they don't have support in the north, in the rural areas. You saw how in the rural areas we have witnessed for the first time in the history of Uganda, unless you're a hypocrite or someone is a liar, we have seen massive support that we have never experienced, or it has never been witnessed. Records have been broken where people are standing up against police brutality. You have seen tear gas canisters flying and people are being beaten, but they are clinging on to their party president, and they are Moses, they are David, someone they see as their Messiah, for lack of a better word. So you have seen that the fear is coming down. The fear levels are coming down. They are coming down. So we are continuing to beseech and to tell Ugandans to guard their vote. On that election day, we are mobilizing and telling Ugandans not to leave the polling centers, and that is going to happen, that they are going to do. Because this time round, Mr. Museveni and all his cronies, they are witnessing this. People are resilient more than it has ever happened in all of the election processes that have happened in the past. We have not seen this resilience. Even the soldiers, you saw the soldiers in, I don't know if it was Arua in this week, the soldiers themselves were overwhelmed. They beat people tear gas and it got finished. They tried all different means, and the people of Uganda are taking. I want to congratulate them and to continue to motivate them. Ugandans, now is the time or never. So demand, and protect. So we are mobilizing them to protect their vote, to stay there, and to use all necessary means, to use their gadgets, whatsoever gadgets, because the NRM government or the electoral processes in the past, people were not in the know. They would gag the media. They would gag. So we would only rely on the formal media houses to give us news. But what we are seeing, everyone in this new era of revolution, almost everyone is a journalist. So as it happens, we see it. And we are sensitizing Ugandans, and we continue to beseech you and to tell you, Ugandans, have your phone, cover each and everything that is going to happen for the world to see. So this is an election like no other. So all the NRM and all those rigging machines should just know that the world is watching, and our eyes this time around are wide open. So the other means that we are going to use, I will not disclose here because they are not for disclosing.
Yeah. Because the reason why I was asking you that is with the new SOPs or standard operating procedures that have been put in place, we can only envisage that on the day of election, people will vote, but they will not be allowed to come close to the tallying centers, where people are going to be counting from, because they will be, again, me and you are aware that the Electoral Commission has spoken about this, so it's not my words, but with all that, the rigging that we've been experiencing in the past, and now that they will have even that chance and opportunity of where people say you can't now come close, we cannot come, maybe they will have each candidate's, representatives standing there, but not the public to guard the vote, as it has been. The other thing I also want to talk about is about the crowds. Personally, because I've been involved in elections in Uganda previously as a journalist, I never really get so excited with the crowd, because sometimes crowds will come, but on the day of election, or the day of voting, somehow people don't show up, or those who vote, will be, again, as we saw, people paying money and people crossing the camp. So for me, it's very important, as you're talking about, engaging people to take out the fear from the people, because the fear has kept us where we are until this day. Mr. Muyombia, you have already spoken about change at all costs. Change, and this is a question I will ask you until end of December. What happens if this election is rigged?
Okay, you talked about the way Mr. Museveni is conducting, barring Honorable Chagwan to go to the radio, go here, don't go here, beaten. That's an evidence that we are going to use.
It's the same thing that happened to Kizza Besigye.
Yeah.
I remember he paid UBC money, right, and they never ran his adverts, and they never gave him back his money as well.
The factors that are going to determine Uganda's election are not only in Uganda. Uganda is part, but it's going to be foreign.
No, let's focus on Uganda.
No.
Because we want Ugandans to know what they can do.
No. Let's be frank.
Because
Museveni said, you people, you said you are going to get assistance from outside. Who is going to come and help you on the day I take over government?
No, the people themselves.
That's what he said. The last time we were here, he said it, and I'm going to repeat it again. Would you think that Museveni's sons and Museveni himself, the old man, is going to massacre people the way the people were massacred in Rwanda, and the whole world is going to look at him because he's old, is putting his son in power? Or is the world going to be able to rise up against him? Say yes or no. You are the moderator.
My answer to you is simple.
Yes.
For now, the election will determine how far we go.
Yes, exactly.
So, and that's why I'm saying, what happens if this election...
All these things that Museveni is doing, our job is to satisfy the international community. We shall get a UN vote.
I never believe in international community.
No. We shall...
I'm sorry, but I have lost faith in
but
in
no one
trust
but
in
no
international
one...
community.
You see, Uganda has been taken as backward people. If you see the fall of Idi Amin, all these UN resolutions were there. You don't know how powerful Idi Amin was on the ground. Let me tell you an example. The day Idi Amin left power, the coffee that he was so much getting for an exchange rotted in the stores. Where? In Mombasa, you know, the Ibingira, Grace Ibingira, they were able to get a UN vote and a sanction on Idi Amin.
No,
so why do you think that Museveni, we cannot get UN sanctions against him if he tries to kill? And if he deters
the thing
to
is,
attack and kill people, the UN will go after him.
How many sanctions have changed our governments in Uganda, in Africa? Not many sanctions, right?
No.
So the issue is, and you first give me a moment and I'll tell you this. Where has the international community been for the last 35 years?
Yeah, no, because there hasn't been a chance.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes,
that unless we vote.
Yes, unless we
vote. And we say Museveni has overwhelmingly been beaten. And he's killing people. We can see plan B.
Yes, exactly.
People like King of Communism who are in plan B then can show up.
Yes.
You know?
What do you think, who Museveni do you think, because he shouts on media and says, I'm going to kill every person. Who is he to kill? Are they flies? Are they dogs? All Ugandans are human beings. So this thing of Museveni being someone that is above the international law, let's see what the international law will do against him when he's killing and his sons, the people of Uganda. That's what we're all asking ourselves.
I'm hoping, this is my prayer. I never want to see a forceful, I've never seen any transitional government. You know, I belong to a generation that has never seen any other president. I have seen only Mr. Museveni, so I have had no idea. But when I speak to my mother, she tells me, you know what, Moses, the last thing I want to see again is to be running up and down, you know, is to go to town and not sure that I'll be returning back home. And that is the fear of most people who experienced life before Museveni, you know. For people like my generation who have never seen any other president, you know, we are up for change, you know. But there is a generation that saw Amin, that saw Obote, that saw Lutwa, and they saw how hard it was to forcefully kick out someone from power.
I am part of them. I saw everything. If we never stood up against Milton Obote, we were never going to be free. Every Ugandan that was being oppressed, we stood bravely. We lost people.
So that brings us to what he said, the fear. So for me, I don't want to put my trust in foreign bodies.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
But
I know the UN will come out and support,
the international,
but they come out when the situation has gone out of hand.
Yeah,
that's when they will rise up.
Yeah, but because that's what Museveni and his son is doing. You know what the inauguration day? The son of the president, a local defense personnel, told Chagwen that you see what I've just shown you, I'm going to show you more. And Museveni said, you people, we shall show you. Then why, if you are going to show us, why do you put an election in a country? Just said that Uganda is a very special case of one-party rule. We are not going to put an election because the international law requires the Museveni to hold a free and fair election in a country. If the international law requires him to hold a free and fair election, why don't we say that the election was not free and fair? The election was rigged. He's killing people. This is the evidence.
But do you think...
Then what will happen?
Will it be a free and fair election?
No, but it is taking us to a place where we want. Okay. I told you last time, the way they fight in a counter-stroke, how do they fight? You wait for your enemy in the weakest part of his thinking that you are going to attack him, and you concentrate there. And that's where Chagwen is concentrating on the ground. Can I go and contest for an election? Can I win it like a Besigye? Yes. If even us that are in the international political wing, can we get the international community in a Ugandan affair when he's massacring people, where Museveni thinks he cannot be counterbalanced? Yes. That is the weakest point, and that's where we are going to win him.
The reason I asked that, and I'm going to go to David right now, is because we have had evidence. Twice, not once, but twice, that Mr. Besigye has won an election in Uganda. 2 generals have confirmed that, and we are going to be winding up because we're out of time. 2 generals have confirmed that Mr. Kizza Besigye won twice an election. Now, there's not evidence that has been provided to this effect, but we've had a man who was a former, intelligence officer in Uganda, Mr. David Sejusa, saying that there was a parallel tallying center where that was feeding information into the National Electoral Tallying Center. And we've also recently had this gentleman, I've forgotten his name, Tumukunde, saying the same thing, that there has been enough evidence that Kizza Besigye won an election twice. But he never became president. And this brings me back to what you said, Mr. Muyombia, that winning an election in itself may not be enough for us to see what we want to see. Because if Besigye won an election and there was no international community that came to say, with all this that has been said, can we have a re-election in Uganda? For me, it brings me back to issues like the judiciary in Uganda. Is it competent enough to rise up and say, with all this enough incriminating evidence against you, Your Excellency, we are overturning this election? I'll come to you, Mr. David Chirabira. Do you see us at the point where we want to be in case this election is rigged? How do you see our systems? Are they in shape to shake up the result and say no?
Oh, thank you so much. Now, to begin with, talking about the systems, I told you that one of the fundamental changes that Museveni and Musevenism, one of the fundamental changes that he brought to our country is that militarization and fear, instilling fear into the electorate or into the Ugandans. That is his weapon. He used that weapon so much. That's why you see, even if Honorable Kyagulanyi Ssentamu just wants to go for a church service, to attend a church service, they will bring militarization as if Honorable Kyagulanyi walks with batons and as if they have ever seen him with any. Yet we had people like Rukutana walking with guns in their cars, and it went viral. They showed them on videos, but no militarization was powered. But here is Honorable Kyagulanyi. Even the few guns they have ever said that he had, they were stage managed, and it was themselves that planted those guns in a hotel in Arua where he was. And they came out and the guns disappeared like that. So this is a guy who only has his music, his microphone, and a guitar. And he passes his message through music and through just talking to people. And here he is, he's beloved by the people. So what we see here is that the other fundamental change that the NRM or Mr. Museveni brought to Uganda is that the destruction of institutes or institutions. So all the systems, the judiciary, talk about all the different institutions were destroyed totally. So our hopes are not in the institutions, though they are there, and we will go through all the necessary channels, but our faith and our hope is not in all those institutions because, for example, the judiciary, it's Mr. Museveni himself who appoints the chief judge or the lead. It's Mr. Museveni who appoints the EC, the Electoral Commission chairman, the EC boss. So the constitution and the laws, all those electoral reforms that have been delayed to happen.
He appoints the police.
He appoints the police,
the military
bosses and all those. So he's about to appoint the religious leader.
Can I chop in a minute?
As we finish,
Yeah, let me give you a good working example that you remember many years to come that I spoke it here. I'm going to make an appraisal of what is on the ground. You think that Tumukunde, a former security guy and a soldier, Mugisha Muntu, a former chief of defense forces, to engage in an election that they know that they're not going to win. What is the strategy? It's to be part of the process to prove that they had been rigged, as Museveni was planning for so long time. The moment Museveni rigs and he thinks that he overpowers the population, even if the international community does not rise up, which I think they will, then a civil war is going to happen. Remember, the NRM that are armed are going to fight against fellow NRM people. So many independent ones that are lost in a rigged election for primaries on the ground. I'm going to give you a working example where I think that the international community cannot come in. If a civil war happens in Uganda, it's going to be so bad. Then what will happen? We are going to have a scenario like that was in Ivory Coast. When the Ivory Coast civil war reached a peak, the international community had to come in. And what was the first thing? The first two sides were saying, okay, we are ready to negotiate and go back to an election that was rigged. What is the principles of a new agreement? An international, organized, and the supervised election by the United Nations. That's what Ivory Coast went through. They said, okay, we are ready to put the arms down, because at the end of the day, a country must go in a free and fair election for the people of the country to decide. The two people, I think, was Bakabo and Guatemala, through the United Nations. The UN was able to bring a new register in a country, a new electoral commission, machines, and there was a free and fair election where each side was not the organizer of an election. Then the opposition won an election and the power was transferred to the other person, of which the president refused and got out guns. Where is he now? Is he somewhere in Hague, in a prison? You think it cannot happen to Museveni? Who is the Museveni that you think we don't know politics?
It will definitely happen. And
it will happen.
As we wrap up, gentlemen, in just 1 minute.
It will happen.
Finally, I don't know what you're adding up, but I just want to also give us a wrap on where Mr. Bobby Wine is going to be canvassing for votes next week. Just wrap us through that. Were you having something else you're ending with?
Yeah, something else that I was ending. You spoke about Kano Chiza Besigye, that similar experiences have happened to him. But what I want to let you know and to let Ugandans know, that it happened to him. Yes, we admit and we believe that it happened to him. But we are in a time that is, as it is said, that you cannot stop an idea whose time has come. So that's why we say that by the time it happened in the times of Dr. Chiza Besigye, there was no people power. People power was not there. So Besigye himself fought this battle. This time we are telling Ugandans, you are the people. You are the saviors you have been waiting for. The power is in your hands this time. We have Honorable Kyagulanyi. I want to congratulate and to thank him. He has been preaching all along and telling people that you are your own saviors. You are your own messiahs. So the people, we have never seen it, people, young people. All of us were disengaged from governance and from governance issues. But we have never seen it or witnessed it in the history of Uganda, where we see the 75% or 85% of the young people, which is the biggest in our population. The young people are almost 85%. We have never seen it or witnessed it, young people rising up to actively be involved in an electoral process as we have witnessed. That's why you see even Museveni himself, I saw him, he was going to Luwero, his so-called Mecca. He was going, and with all his motorcade and police officers and armies, people were just chanting, people power, our power, and the fear levels are going down. They are showing him that we hope for the first time, we have never seen that. So what I'm saying, as I'm wrapping up, is that this is not just an election, as Honorable Bobby Wine has been saying. This is not, with Besigye's, it was an election. This is a revolution. There is a difference between a revolution and an election. This is going to be a revolution, and this is a revolution. The old against the new. So we cannot say that it's going to be business as usual. Because if you see what has happened in the north, if you can just follow Honorable Kyagulanyi's traits and the little time that he has been allowed to converse or to traverse the country, you see what we have never seen before. So I want to encourage Ugandans that we are yet to see, and we are going to see what we have never seen before. And as I'm winding up, he usually talks about, I want to echo his word, he usually says that God is on our side, God. And the Bible says that if God be for us, who can be against us? So we want to let Mr. Museveni and all the oppressors know that they are not bigger than God. They are not above God. Yes, they might be above the law in Uganda, but they are not above the law of heaven. They are not above the law of the kingdom of God. And it is God who raises up and puts down leaders. If you doubt that, go and ask Pharaoh, go and ask Nebuchadnezzar, go and ask Gaddafi, go and ask Hitler, go and ask all those guys. So we want to let Mr. Museveni and all other oppressors know that they are not absolute, they are not ultimate, they are not sovereign as they think they are. And there is God above, and he reigns and he rules over in the affairs of men. So apart from God, the people are on our side. That's why we are people power, not just Kyagulanyi power, not Bobi Wine power. We are people power. So,
And then you have the law.
and then we have the law. We have been very careful to do everything to follow the law to the letter, to do everything according to the law. So that's those three factors, those three people who are on our side encourage us as Ugandans.
I mean, I want to thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, but one minute. One minute.
Maybe 20 seconds.
Okay. We don't forget that as we must have a meeting. If we call you for a meeting, a general meeting in the diaspora here, an international conference, be quick to come to this conference, because that's the conference that is going to give us a platform for lobbying for international intervention into the affairs of the politics of Uganda. So don't forget, when we call you, be ready to raise up quickly. That was my last.
Thank you very much. You didn't give us your number. If people want to contact you concerning religious, spiritual oversight, or to engage in spiritual, aspects for this campaign.
Okay, my number is 978-259-8832. Once again, 978-259-8832.
All right. Thank you very much. And that has been it for the show today. We are still believing God that there will be a peaceful transition of power in Uganda. That should be our prayer. That should be our hope. Personally, I am believing God that He has to soften hearts of men, I'm believing God that the Electoral Commission will be free and fair and will be accountable to Ugandans. I'm believing God that the Electoral Commission boss and whoever it is going to be in charge of this election will be governed and guided by God Himself. I'm also believing God that the judiciary in Uganda will stand firm, that the police will be firm, that the military will be firm and stand with Ugandans. That is my hope. And I hope that is what all Ugandans should be praying and believing God for, that we shouldn't go into a scenario where the international community has to come in and help us. This should be an issue that we deal with as a country. Free and fair elections. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next week, and goodbye.